Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is a beautiful game with lots of nostalgia for me. But it's been years since I've run the game, so I think it's time to revisit it. But of course I had to think of something obscure. My first plan was to run this game without using boomerangs, but I knew that's not possible, since you have to use the flamerang, the frostyrang and the doomerang respectively. Furthermore, I love using the multi-rang, the mega-rang, and for me personally, I love the zoomerang. So they're all fun to use. But what then? Well, I thought, what if we take away the most prominent pickup of the entire game? Opals. Should it be possible to complete the entire game without ever picking one up? I'm actually really curious about that. But that means this is another one of those runs where I keep resetting until I figure out a strategy and master a very specific path. Can you beat Ty the Tasmanian Tiger without collecting a single opal? Jumping right into the game and we start our adventure in the level 2 up. I quickly noticed that the pathway is kinda narrow. It is really doable to walk around the opals and not enter the pickup range. But I have a feeling that will change shortly. So we quickly make it here, and this was the first real trouble spot of the run. We have to jump from platform to platform to make it up there, but every platform has an opal on it. Now you can jump onto here, but that is a big problem, because when Ty grabs onto the ledge and jumps on, most of the time you immediately enter the pickup range and, well, that's a reset. Since we just started this challenge, I haven't gotten any time to practice yet, so right now I'm not sure what I'm doing, and I keep picking up that opal. So I endure reset after reset. And the one time I did make it further, I found out that the opal in front of Julius has to be taken from the right side instead of the left. Now after a little while I found out how to speedrun this part. Speedrunning this part also results in plenty of losses, but what would you have me do? It's just so easy to pick up an opal and just reset to play the same part over and over again. Anyway, 2 up is quite an easy level, right? Took me about 20 resets, I think. So we're gonna make our way to the level Walk in the Park. Well, this level really is not a walk in the park. This level is outright one of the most difficult levels in the game. Just look at these trees and their opals. I mean, it's really bad. So we are carefully jumping around each and every one of them. I frequently fall off or get an opal, which is a reset. What makes this so hard is that the trees face slightly up. That means that I get even less fly time. So I am doing this part over and over again. And for the first 45 minutes, my goal was to get on top of this hill. So let me tell you how I went about getting there. The rock here is super useful. With that, we can jump around the first opal. We then jump to the right side of the hill to avoid the second one. The second tree is kind of the same. This time we jump around the opals on the left side, and we can easily jump over the opals in between those two, and we make our way to the next part by jumping around these ones on the right side. Here we can take a little shortcut and jump around the right side again. Skip these opals by going to the left, and our final obstacle seems really dangerous. The turning tree. But I actually fell off more than I had to reset, so the opals weren't such a problem. Now standing on the tree, that is the real problem. You can make it by jumping on the right side. I usually went left with the last jump, but right can also be done. And we made it. But now the real trouble begins. Because we make it to the water slide. And this is bad. I mean, I try my absolute hardest to miss every opal. And yeah, it's over. I'm gonna reset in a bit, but first let me check how to go about every opal. Oh, well, I don't even make it that far. So, that means we climb the entire hill again. And since I've been doing this for an hour, I get better and better. So let's focus on the slide itself. The trick is to push your stick all the way to the back. That gives you more time to decide whether to go left or right with every opal. Now the first time I made it to the end was with 10 opals. This is way too many, and we have a lot of work to do. So I'm just gonna show some losses here and talk about my thoughts. The more and more I do this, I start to learn more. But it's a real slow segment. I can jump over this one, go left here and stay there for a little while. With the opal here we can make our way to the right. There's just a little more space here. But not for long. I go around this one on the left side again to immediately make my way right. We slalom around this right path and I pick up 2 opals here, but the second one is always the problem. Because I was stuck here for 3 entire nights of gaming and it was always this opal that was in my way. It seems to be exactly in the middle, which makes choosing a path really hard, and left or right both don't work. At the end of the slide are in fact some real difficult opals to miss. So what am I going to do? Well, I decided to leave this level for now and try my luck at the level Shipwrecks. And I actually have very little to say about this level, it's really easy. We get the aqua rang and we can now move freely through the water. The opals in this level are very spread out, so it's quite easy. You need to have a focus for the last mountain we have to climb, but it's doable. Because we are going to need thunder eggs, I spent some time gathering all of them in this level. Of course, the only one that I cannot obtain is the one where you need all of the opals. And on that topic, I also backtracked through 2 up and gathered all the thunder eggs there. But it's not enough, and all of the thunder eggs in Walk of the Park are after the water slide. And if you think that with 4 opals in a slide I'm close, think again. That 1 opal I mentioned is still in our way and we have to get really lucky to make it to the other side on 0 opals. Oh, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but a second water slide is there right after. But I have a few tricks up my sleeve. The first one is jumping. At some point I accidentally found out that you can jump in this slide. It has no function in casual playthroughs, but for me that's an extra tool. So in this turn, where the seemingly unskippable opal is, we go right and jump while traversing the opal. And it is possible! Now, will I pretend this isn't the luckiest thing in the world? Well, no, because it's still a very unlikely scenario that we make it across without a single opal. You just don't. So then I decided to look into Thai speedrunning. How are the pros doing these parts? And I should have figured something like this, but let's reset again and make our way halfway on the hill. There's one tree here that's a little thicker than the rest. With a perfect jump, preferably from the wooden crate here, you can get stuck there and get an extra jump. From here, with a perfect jump, you can make it. And this is great, because the only thing we have to do is walk to the red plant, jump onto the waterfall, and voila! We have skipped the entire water slide. But our worries are not over yet. Because the second water slide is even more impossible than the first one. You quickly find a split in the path. After some trial and error, I found out that the right side is safer in the curved path. But getting there is more dangerous because of this opal in the middle. You can go right, but you have to do that at the very last moment you can. This often leads into you going left instead, which is usually a reset. Or you pick up the opal after the one in the middle, which is of course another reset. After that we slalom a lot through all of these opals, but if there is but one time you lose momentum, that is, say it with me, you were supposed to say reset. And by the way, if you did, you are a real one and I love that. Anyway, there is also one more opal which requires jumps in the curve to skip, and towards the end there is a very tricky opal that makes sense to traverse past the right side, but some weird glitch in that curve makes it so that it's kinda hard to move back to the left side. And you get the opal after this one. It's kinda hard to explain, just know that the movement is working weird here and that was consistent in all of my runs. No, I'm sorry, but I did this again and again and it wasn't working. So there are only two solutions, right? Do I give up and try a different video? Or look for something else in the level? But what else am I supposed to do? Look at the map. The water slide is a very prominent part of this level. I can't just skip that. Well, I figured something out. Something that is undoubtedly a glitch, but I decided to use it to my advantage. See, I spent an entire half hour trying to jump all sorts of things here, but nothing worked. And then, suddenly, this happened. What? I am swimming in the air. You can see me pause there for a second to really understand what is happening. Now it wears off in a few seconds, but that's kinda weird, don't you think? I was just spamming random buttons. Essentially what is going on here is that when you stand in a little pond of water, jump and press the circle button, aka the dive button. You can trick the game into thinking that you are swimming. Now this is not as easy as it seems. It only works on very specific points where you can walk through water, and weirdly, you have to jump against some kind of surface, this time being a rock. So it took me some time to really get the hang of this. But then we swim against the wall until we make it to the top and just clip over it. This makes sure I reach the end of the sliding path. And I made it. Oh my god. That took 3 entire nights of gaming. And that means we can obtain our last few Thunder Eggs. So walk in the park turned out to be, well, not such a walk in the park. But now we can see the rest of the game. We get the talisman in Bull's pen, obtain the Boomerang, and that gives us access to 3 new levels. I chose to tackle Snow Worries first, since I always hate to fight the children. I keep on forgetting in which parts I already have found children and which ones, well, not. And even when I get them, I have to search for bilbies. It's not hard, it just takes really long. The opals here are really spread out and that is great. But because the threat is not that real, I would sometimes accidentally pick up an opal. This obviously means a reset, but also resetting the amount of children I have already found. One part I should mention is this part with the pillars. There are lots of them with opals on it and 2 have children on them. But with good jumps you can get them without collecting a single opal. Luckily the wooden structure at the end has no opals on it, otherwise this could be bad. So a long trek to the top, but getting there made me really happy. Now what also made me happy is the banger of a soundtrack on the level Outback Safari. I can just listen to this music over and over again. Anyway, opals. I think the hardest part is the part where you have to defend Shaza. Because you have to be quick, you have to watch out not to run through boxes of opals and of course, well, miss the opals that are on the road. What is also hard here is finding the bilbies. But in the end, I did. But what made me less happy is the level Bridge on the River Ty. The beginning part is just dumb. You have to jump around every opal. I'd later find out that you can really take a shortcut by jumping in the water, swim around these ones, get on here and jump onto this platform. This only cost me 4 resets. Furthermore, I feel like I have to mention this part with the gap. But you can make it through on the left side. Now why this level actually sucks for me is that you have to escort Dennis and you can then do the objective where you can fire up the pilot flames. But as it would turn out, I forgot where they all were. 7 out of 8 are pretty easy to find, but I couldn't find the final one. So I have plenty of footage of me just wandering through this entire part, searching for one. I went to go faster and faster, but that also means you get more reckless. You pick up an extra opal, reset the level, but you also reset Dennis, and you have to start all over again. The final one is in the dark right next to the mini-boss. Well then, it took some time, but we do get the talisman in Cricky's Cove with all of 0 opals gathered. That was a nice break, and a necessary one, because the next part, it's awful. Liar Liar Pants on Fire is really bad. At spawn you can see how tight the corridor is, and there are opals everywhere. Now you can do it, but you know there's gotta be a lot of resets here. And Lenny the Liar Bird really has an awful voice. Follow me and do as I say. Shut up, please. When we make it to this button, I found that sometimes Lenny stood next to me and sometimes not. Now in order to miss this opal, I found that jumping against the wooden board on the left side and then gliding our way, make sure that I missed the opal. But if Lenny stood there, that was a lot harder. In fact, every time he was there, I obtained the opal and I had to reset. But let's rewind, how was I able to get Lenny to stay behind? After I'd say, 35 resets, I noticed that Lenny didn't show up as frequently as before. But I also noticed that I began speedrunning the first part, because, well, I've been at this for a while and I know this part now. What I found out is that when you get into the left tube and start running, you can outrun Lenny before he can say his line. That means he will wait until, I don't know, maybe you pass an invisible barrier as he stands there, which I will not do obviously. That makes it so that I don't have to worry that he is there at the bottom part. But it's not over. After plenty of resets in the upcoming part, we make it here. Now I have traversed through biting cameras multiple times in the game so far, but why mention this part? Well, after biting the last one, we fall into an opal. I knew that would happen at some point, so we have to take 2 more attempts of getting here. 1 to count the amount of cameras, and 2 to bite them -1. As it turns out there are 10, so I carefully count 9 bites and glide forward after the last one. Then a few corridors with good jumps are required, and if all that lines up, we make it here. Ha! Tricked ya! You thought it was smooth sailing from here on out. So I didn't even bother to do this. The chances to get here are so slim. And yes, I get better over time, but I instantly started searching for alternatives. At the spider part, I tried to get over this barrier. And it worked! But that flew me just onto the slide. Okay then, let's see how it turns out. And, well, yeah. Like I thought, this is never going to work out. And I didn't even bother from here on out. Like in Walk in the Park, that means we are stuck. So resort to air swimming, yes? Well, no. I mean, you can do that. Right in front of the slide is water. You are able to swim, but it's a lot harder. Furthermore, there is something like a limit or so. When you reach a certain height, the game will notice you are doing something you are not supposed to and just put you down. This is extremely frustrating because not only have I tried almost everything, but my save and grace strategy won't work. And yeah, I mean, I fall off into the slide and you can just see me resetting right away. This isn't working. So let's try the other levels first. Rex Marks the Spot is just as easy as Ship Rex. I should mention that I made the same mistake multiple times in a row, resetting again and again, but that was all my fault. At this point I try to be as reckless as possible because, well, you know, I've been at this for a while and I have to find little things to keep the run interesting. But to make it interesting we have to look no further than beyond the black stump. I totally forgot this level even existed and it ended up being a nightmare. The first part is quite easy and we will skip that for now. But the way to the top is just... oh. We have to go from platform to platform again on these hanging trees. And it's really difficult. After doing this again and again, I found a perfect path to have the highest chance of success. And I still fail time and again, so it wasn't like a perfect guaranteed winning strategy. From this platform we can make it here, and in one more jump we reach this point. I found that jumping left twice and a third time right is the best strategy for the next one. The other way is possible, but I had way more success with this strategy. Now at the second tree we go left, left, left. And the same applies for the final tree. Now this sounds easy, but trust me, it's not. This took me hours. And not just to get one victory, but to complete the entire level after that. Remember, one fail and I have to retry this entire part. But would you believe that the real pain in this level is a single opal? Yes, the opal on this platform behind Ranger Ken. When you jump, you can grab the ledge, and if you jump normally onto the ledge, you collect the opal and it's game over. Now the second ledge is just too high to reach. And no, you cannot stand on Ranger Ken and jump there, unfortunately. So you have to grab the ledge and move forward so little that I will stand on the ledge, but just out of the pickup range. Oh, and let's not forget to move away if you jump afterwards, because if you jump straight in the air, you collect the opal too. This was excruciating. And wanna know the fun part? On my very first attempt where I got on top of the trees, I climbed this without collecting an opal, and killed all the squirrels on the towers. Now at that point I should have returned to Ranger Ken to grab my thunder egg. Instead, I realized that I did remember the last part of this level. where you have to fly all the way down an entire mountain for some shooting game. But in doing that, I grab an opal out of the air, making me reset while having made all of 0 progress. And that started hours of retrying to get onto this platform without picking up the opal. Anyway, I knew it was possible, so of course eventually I did. In fact, what I was going to do is collect as much Thunder Eggs as I can in every level, so that I can hopefully get enough to skip the level Liar Liar Pants on Fire. It seems like that is the only way. And I can, but for example, take this Thunder Egg. As you can see, this one is unobtainable for me. And no, you cannot experiment with anything. Not only do I see no option to get this one without picking up an opal, but also, whenever you get a Thunder Egg, the game automatically saves. So if I make a mistake here, which seems very likely, the run is dead. So I grab every other Thunder Egg in both levels that I can. I even went back to previous level to collect the remaining things like the last Bilby in Outback Safari and a few Thunder Eggs in Snow Worries. But unfortunately for me, the counter apparently only works on green Thunder Eggs that can only be obtained in the last 3 levels. So, that means I have to get 3 Thunder Eggs in Liar Liar Pants on Fire. Or put simply, I have to get past the water slide. Now, after revisiting this level several nights after my last attempt, I got to the slide on my first try. That was amazing. But that quickly ceased to exist. Because I'll just say it, there is no way. Like really, the water slide is mandatory. And this sucks. I mean, I can do this over and over again until I have the fewest opals collected, but there's always gonna be RNG involved. It just makes no sense, and frankly, I've already done 2 water slides for 3 nights in Walk in the Park. So, no, you cannot beat Ty the Tasmanian Tiger without collecting a single opal. There's just nothing I can do. And believe me, I have tried everything. Every path and surface where I might swim to freedom, I have tried. So unless I come up with some great out-of-the-box far-fetched strategy, this will never work. I mean, at some point what I was going to do is this. What a waste of time. It's dumb and it will never. Oh my god. Oh my god. But but let's backtrack. How was I able to get there? Because this definitely was not a first try victory. Here you can find a spot to start the air swimming strategy. I tried all different kinds of strategies, like swimming up the wall, and tried a few trees, but this one seems to make the most sense. I have about an hour of footage of just trying this jump. There was literally no other way. The golden ticket here is to swim against the green surface here and just a little bit forward. That makes sure you trick the game into thinking that Ty resurfaced for some reason and you can jump. And in doing so, you can just grab the ledge here. And you want to know something hilarious? There are no more opals in the game after this one. Yes, Cast Pass, Cast Crest and the final battle have all of 0 opals. Meaning this jump was the ending boss of the run. We throw the Boomerang in Boss Cass's robot and we have officially beaten Ty the Tasmanian Tiger without collecting a single opal. This run was really interesting in the end. This made me realize that I love the place with all the boomerangs. But I'm really not a fan of most levels, and most of them kind of feel like a slog. But I am really glad that it worked out the way that it did. There were some points where I seriously thought that this wasn't possible, but I just did. Now, should I recommend this run? My honest answer is I don't know. Yes, it is really fun, but come on, we have all seen what obscure strategies are needed to complete this run. Furthermore, when I have a goal in mind, I will try over and over again until I reach that. And I know that's not fun for most people to do. So unless you are as stubborn as I am, maybe you shouldn't try this run. Anyway, It was really fun to relive this nostalgia and get my question answered. This has been yet another obscure video game run, so until next time I'd say, take care.